3, 2, 1. Live from Dave's RV Center. It's that time of year again to start winterizing. We're going to dust off my Winterize tool bucket. All right, you can see how much dust is on this thing because it doesn't really get used during the season. But here we are. We're going to start out. This is a 2024 Ventana. And basically all Newmar water systems are going to be very similar in size and components today. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to get into our water compartment. I've got a 5-gallon bucket already set up with antifreeze. It's unrealistic today to think that with multiple bathrooms, with multiple appliances, that you could get away with winterizing with just a couple of gallons. You always want to make sure that you're using the glycol-based non-toxic antifreeze. What we found over the years is that alcohol-based antifreeze absorbs moisture out of the air. So if you're winterizing something like a boat engine where it just needs to be protected and you don't really care that it's absorbing the moisture. But what happens with alcohol base is that moisture tends to turn into mold. And it's very difficult to clean out of your water system. It will plug your sink aerators, it will plug filters, pump strainers. It causes more harm than it does good. I don't know what condition the customer brought the unit into me. So normally I'm going to walk through the entire unit and I'm going to make sure that all of the fixtures are in the off position. I've done that before. I'm about to hook up air, and it's a nice little surprise when you find out that you blew water all over somebody's interior because the kitchen sink faucet was open and the sink covers were in position, so it did not go down the drain. We've got our city water inlet, and this one just so happens to have a hose reel. This is a power reel. Well, on units that don't have this, you would probably have two city water connections right up here. One of them would be a city water, and the other one is basically a hose bib for your sewer flush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up a blowout plug. Now, my blowout plug is going through a 50 psi pressure regulator. It's the same thing whether I'm putting air through or water through. I like to regulate it so I know that I'm not going to cause any issues with toilet valves or water valves for ice makers and stuff like that. Because this unit has a Oasis, there is no bypass for the water heater that I'm going to make. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to force all of the water out of the heat loop or the heat coil for my domestic hot water. And I'm going to go to each fixture until all that water is gone. Well, thanks for helping. All right, so all of these fixtures, now you're not going to get this 100% dry. You're always going to have little spurts of water that are coming out like that, and that's okay. really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get rid of the majority of the water, because this type of antifreeze, if you cut it with water, it ruins its anti-freezing capabilities. Okay, that's that. We're going to go inside. Okay, here we are in the kitchen. I don't care where you start. Some people say you start at the furthest away fixture. Today it doesn't really matter. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the majority of the water out. To the midship. So in here we've got a hand sink. And we have a toilet. I'm going to open up a slide so I could get, this unit does have a second bathroom. I highly recommend, before you winterize any RV, walk through it, open things up and look. Use your eyes. That is the best tool that you have to make sure that, does it have an ice maker? Does it have a dishwasher? RVs today are very complex, and there's a lot of appliances on board that could be hiding. I've had people install aftermarket filter systems, and if you don't locate that stuff and you don't winterize it properly, or you might start pumping antifreeze through, and you're waiting for pink and it's coming out clear, 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 clear. Well, that's because it went through a filter. So one feature that this unit has is an aquamizer. This is something that Newmar installs. So when you're dry camping and you're strictly using your tank water and you want to conserve your water, while you're taking a shower, what you could do is you activate the water miser feature, and it returns all of the water back to the tank. So when you open this back up, you've got the temperature that you set the water for. I like to at least blow air through this. I'm not going to pump antifreeze through it because I don't like putting antifreeze in my freshwater tank. I don't care what kind of antifreeze you use either. It's very difficult to clean antifreeze out of a tank. So at least blow air through it, and we're going to go back outside and we're going to do the same thing on the sewer flush too. We're going to blow air through that. Got air through there. We're good there. So this is one of these instances. This is one of those instances where you should open up a cabinet. And what do we see there? We got a washer dryer. So here we are. This unit has a washer dryer. The dryer you don't need to do anything with. The wash machine, I need to put antifreeze through the hot side, the cold side, and the drain side. So what we're going to do is we're going to select and express a fast setting. I'm going to set my temperature all the way up, and I'm going to hit start. So what's going to happen is that unit, sometimes they go into an automatic drain cycle, but right now it's thinking. Usually when they start spinning that way, it doesn't know that there's no clothes in there right now. So typically when wash machines start spinning in the very beginning, it's because they're trying to balance out that load of dry clothing. There goes our drain pump. So listening is equally as important as watching. That's both sides. Did you hear the difference? I'm going to pause that. We got both sides, hot and cold, and I'm going to come back to this when I get antifreeze moving through the system. Right now, the last piece of the puzzle I'm going to check for is going to be the ice maker in the refrigerator, and that's going to be special all by itself. Okay, here we are at the refrigerator, and I know this space is a little bit tight because I didn't open up the slides all the way, but mostly all of your residential refrigerators have water filters built in, and what we want to do is we want to remove that filter. Now, some refrigerators, they've got a bypass plug that you would have to install in there. This refrigerator, it doesn't. If we left that filter in there, basically what would happen is our antifreeze, when we start pushing antifreeze through, it would come out clear because those filters do work really well. This is just another fixture. I'm trying to get the majority of the water out. I'm going to stop there. We're going to dump that. And we got air. Perfect. All right, back outside we go. All right, back outside. Here's what we did so far. We opened up our low point water drains. We pushed air through the outdoor shower. We also did our kitchen sink, our bathroom sink, our midship bathroom sink, our midship toilet, our main bathroom sink, our main bathroom toilet, the main bathroom shower, the water miser, the wash machine, and the ice maker. So it won't hurt to make a list of all of your appliances on board. So the next time you winterize or when you de-winterize, you've got that list that's easy to look through so you don't skip out on anything. One of the last things that I do, this unit has a freshwater fill valve. Once again, I do not like to add antifreeze to my freshwater tank, but I will push air through that line. There are no critical valves in that piece of plumbing, so air is sufficient for that piece. I'm going to disconnect my air, and I'm going to remove my water filter, and I'm going to toss this. I do not save these. It's always wise to start out with a fresh one in the spring. We're going to put this housing back on. I've seen so many people forget to winterize these units, and this is usually one of the first pieces to freeze and split. Winterizing. We've got valve A and valve B. So we want to make sure valve A is closed. That turns off our supply from the freshwater tank. And we want to make sure valve B is open. And that basically turns this siphon hose. This is our new water tank filled with non-toxic RV antifreeze. I'm going to turn the pump on. Right now, that's charging the entire water system. You guys can hear the water pump. But we're going to hear that shut off soon. Okay. I'm just going to top off my antifreeze supply. I go through so much antifreeze. I have a habit when you're trying to fill a container like this. The worst part about that is now this nice plastic container is no longer usable for anything else. All right, so our water pump is on. Because I'm right here, I'm going to open up the shower. There's cold. There's hot. We've got a nice consistent pink coming out. I'm going to turn that off. And now I'm going back inside the unit. All right, back inside. There is no particular order that you need to do this in. It's just I'm working from front to rear. So here we go. You got to pay attention to the color of that antifreeze that's coming out. Even though we blew the system out with air, there's still low-lying points that water gets trapped. And as you're forcing the antifreeze through, it will mix and it will lighten that color up, so it's not as potent as it should be. Next one, midship. Okay, we're going to hit the toilet. Going for the shower again. When you're doing the shower, when you have these double fixtures, make sure you get them both. Okay, I got a nice consistent pink there. I'm going to go for my hot. Nice consistent pink there. All right, perfect. I am not opening the water miser. I do not want to return antifreeze to my freshwater tank. There's nothing in the tank. That means there's nothing to freeze. It does not need antifreeze in it. I promise it'll be a nightmare to clean it out in the spring. So here we are back over at the wash machine, and it's still paused. So, and we're still on cold. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit play. I like to watch and wait and see. It will fill up the drum. I could start to see pink running in there right now. You could see it all the way in the back filling. I'm going to pause it. And I'm going to change my temperature again. We're going to go to hot. Now I'm getting the other side of it. Okay, so we did hot, we did cold, and basically what we're going to do is we want to drain that tub now. So if I hit the power button, you're going to have to read the instructions on your wash machine. Everyone is different. Everyone has a different process. So I would definitely suggest getting yourself familiar with that process before you start winterizing. Otherwise, it could turn into a pretty expensive fix if you have to replace one of those water valves. So we just finished the wash machine, and now I want to make sure that my toilet is all set. And I almost forgot to do the toilet. So that just goes back to having a list. So this way, you could turn that into a checklist. We are back at our refrigerator, and hey, look at that. We got a nice pink coming out. It's a hell of a good. Okay. So, because of the ice maker that this unit has, I don't have a good way to trick this ice maker without taking the refrigerator apart. I don't want to take the refrigerator apart. What we're going to do is we're going to take a gallon of antifreeze. I'm going to leave this unit with the refrigerator on. I'm going to leave the unit plugged into 110 power, and I'm going to set up a jug of antifreeze on that siphon tube, and I'm going to let this unit run for hour and a half, 2 hours, so it tries to make an ice cycle. By the time it does that, there'll be pink ice cubes in the tray. And make no mistake about it, I've forgotten jugs of RV antifreeze in the back of my truck, and at 10 degrees temperature outside, it will turn into a slushy not frozen, but you think you're at 7-Eleven. All right, so a lot of people, when they winterize, they think that the paint coming through, that was enough to manage your P-traps. I don't like to take that chance. It's a gallon of antifreeze. It's not that expensive. So I'm going to pour a little bit down each trap to make sure that those traps are protected. My toilets, if I had regular ball valve style toilets, these are macerator toilets. With ball valve toilets, I like to pour a little bit of antifreeze and leave it in there for the winter. It's good to keep that seal nice and moist. In case we don't get back to this, I'm sure we will though. If this unit did not have an ice maker, we would be done. And I would have opened all of my fixtures, my kitchen sink, my midship sink, my main bathroom sink, and my shower. And then I would have gone outside and opened my low point drains. I let all of my antifreeze drain back out of the system. It doesn't need to be in there. Once there's no more water, there's nothing to freeze. You do not need to have antifreeze in the lines. Okay, here we are back outside. And I am going to take my suction line. I'm going to set up a jug of antifreeze here. I'm going to set that there and I'm going to leave it. If you have a sewer flush, what we're going to do is we're going to push air through it. This is not a straight line from this hose bib into the black tank to flush it. There is an anti-siphon valve inside, and it could be underneath a kitchen sink, it could be underneath the bathroom sink. It's somewhere inside. And if you don't push air through this, it does retain a little bit of water on the other side of that siphon valve. It could freeze and it won't break, but what will happen is every time you flush your sewer tank, it won't hold water and you'll get a leak inside from that. So what do? We just push air through it. Make sure it's dried out. That's it. We are going to come back to this unit because once that is all set, and you know, if you want to take a black magic marker, mark a line on there. When that ice maker calls for water to fill the tray, it'll drop. We're going to come back to this because I want to drain the tanks. That's going to be the last piece of our puzzle, and then this unit will be done. Part of the process is going to be draining our freshwater tank. I usually tell people when you come back from a camping trip, there's no reason to leave water sit inside there unless you're going back out camping the very next day. When we're winterizing, I don't want any water in the tank. So there's a low point water drain back there for the freshwater tank on this unit in that location. And I opened it. So we're going to get rid of all of the water. Once the ice maker is complete and it's gone through that cycle, we're going to bring this unit over to our dump station and we're going to dump the tanks. I don't need to have anything in my tanks. They could stay empty for the winter. And as long as there's no water, there's nothing to protect. Okay, it's almost the end of the day. And let's go take a look and see our jug. All right, looks like the ice maker cycled. We're going to go take a look and see what it looks like inside of the refrigerator. Look at that. We got pink ice. So I'm not too worried about the actual tray. What I'm worried about is the water valve for the ice maker. So as long as we've got pink through there, it should be safe throughout the winter. But now that we're done, we can turn our water pump off. I can open my fixtures. Open. Open. Good, good, good. We just opened up all of our fixtures inside. Follow me outside. We're going to open up the low point drains. Once our low point drains are open, it's going to drain the majority of the antifreeze out of the system. It will not drain all of it out, but I still like to leave those open. Air can flow through the system. Not a lot of air is going to get in there, but it'll help to keep it fresh and a lot cleaner. So when I see you guys again on this unit in the springtime and we're de-winterizing it, it'll be a lot easier to sanitize. I skipped over this last piece of the puzzle. We have a dump station on site. If you're doing this yourself, you're going to want to find a place to dump your tanks. I'm not going to show you that right at the current moment because I've got other stuff to do. And at some point within the next day or so, we'll pull this over to our dump station and dump the gray and the black. I'm Dave at Dave's RV Center. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Do not like us. Do not follow us. I'm not looking to monetize the channel. What I am looking to do is always bring you guys good information, the right information, and you don't have to worry that I have a production deadline to meet or I'm trying to gain followers and producing satire. This is good, solid information that I'm going to give you always.